right, friends, so last night the GOP held their third primary presidential debate, and I watched it, so you don't have to. I think it's really important to always understand your opposition. I watch all of these, and I watch the right. How I'm gonna break this down is into a series of 5 parts, okay? Each part that I'm doing is going to be focused on a specific candidate in the debate last night, and we're gonna go through each one of their answers. I think it's important that you watch all the way through because you need to see what these people are up to and what their plan is. So please follow along on this series and follow me here on TikTok, follow me on my YouTube, which is in my bio. This series is free and it's gonna take a lot of time and work and labor on my part, so please join me. I wanna be able to do more content on YouTube because YouTube does not censor you nearly as much as this app does, which is funny to say because YouTube is known to be censorious, but you guys, we know how TikTok is. And please engage and interact with the content. I wanna know your guys' thoughts. I wanna know your opinions in a respectful way. Folks, let's not get crazy. No abuse, guys. It's not a high bar. Send this to anybody that you know that's on the right. Tag them, or if you have a family member that's conservative, send this to them. And watch through the whole thing, please, because I think it's so important, whether you're an independent, whether you're a leftist, whether you're a liberal, whatever. It's so important that we understand what their plan is and what their talking points are so we know how to fight against it. Okay, so with that all being said, we're gonna start with the candidate that I personally hate the most. Just kidding, kind of. No, am I kidding though? And that is Vivek Ramaswamy. I have to make sure that I'm watching myself because this is TikTok and you do get censored a lot more on here. This is also why I have YouTube now. I gotta make sure that I keep the cussing and things to a minimum. It's hard though. Quick note, I am speeding up their answers just because we have a lot to get to. All right, let's go.
Be the nominee and not the former president.
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer to the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Christian Walker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Christian, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you the Trump Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years. Was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go. Mr.
Go.
This is how we get our country back.
Oh, she hates him. Who doesn't?
Accountability, because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story. And they're going to rig this election with accountability.
Let me turn to Governor.
One of the reasons why I can't stand Vivek Ramaswamy, aside from the fact that he's so cringe, is he does this thing that I think is very sinister in politics, where he takes something that is true, he takes a legitimate pain point that people have, and then he twists it and obfuscates and scapegoats and tries to trick people into thinking that his solution is the correct solution, no matter how much it's the opposite or doesn't have anything to do with the topic, because he's pressing in on something that bothers people. Trump is like the master at this. Ramaswamy is an amateur at it, but there are still some people that are falling for it. So he lies and says that the 2020 election was rigged. There is literally zero evidence for that. Zero. Now, I know the GOP don't care about facts. The Hunter Biden dick pic laptop that is mostly just pictures of him at his worst in his addiction was not the reason why people did or did not vote for Trump. Like, this idea is so insane. So many people in 2020 didn't even like Biden. I didn't like Biden, but we voted for him as a vote against fascism. So many people were just desperate to get Trump out of office. So this idea that voters would have changed their vote if they would have seen the dick pic laptop is insane. There's zero evidence that anybody would have changed their vote because of that. Then he tries to do his best Newt Gingrich impersonation where he attacks the media. That's another thing he tries to copy Trump on. He thinks because a lot of people hate the media, and rightly so. I'm not defending the media. The media are fucking trash. Corporate media is the worst. So what he does is he calls out Kristen Welker by being like, fake news media, and then people who distrust the media go, yeah, I like this guy, and then they just go with whatever he's saying. But what he's saying is a lie. Did the media way overplay the whole Russiagate thing? Yeah, they did, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot of truth in what was happening. Now, as a note too, I am going to point out things that they did say that are right, because I think it's important to understand those as well and what their motivations are. He's not wrong when he says that Ronna McDaniel should step down his chair, but That's not my problem. I'm not a Republican. So you want to keep her useless ass? You go ahead. And he's not wrong that Republicans keep losing. I'm fine with it. You guys keep doing what you're doing. I'm totally happy with the fact that you guys keep losing. But the reason why you guys keep getting your asses handed to you, like in Kentucky, Virginia, Ohio the other night, is because your policies are not popular. People don't like what you're trying to sell. So maybe stop pushing unpopular policies instead of just saying, oh, it's just Ronna McDaniel. She has a part, but part of it is that you guys just don't have popular policies. By and large, in the country, when you look at national polling, most people, whether they are Democrats or Republicans or independents, if you remove all the labels, support progressive policy. Period. End of story. You can try to argue with me, but you're wrong. So let's go into the next clip.
Any daylight between you and the candidates we just heard in this issue on what you would tell the Prime Minister?
In terms of what I would tell the Prime Minister, no. In fact, I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as President of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border. That's his responsibility. This is our responsibility. That's how we move forward. But I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past. Corrupt politicians in both parties spent trillions, killed millions, made billions for themselves in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, fighting wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars that did not advance anyone's interests, adding $7 trillion to our national debt. And Joe Biden sold off our foreign policy. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, got a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. That's why we're sending $200 billion back to that same country. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney and 3-inch heels?
All right,
in which case we got two of them.
So I'll admit that that last line where he makes a reference to Bootgate and Ron DeSantis was good. But he did it again, exactly what I just told you guys he was going to do. He takes something that has truth in it and then he diverts attention. He brings up how Nikki Haley and so many other water carriers for the military-industrial complex in the executive branch and in Congress spend trillions of dollars enriching themselves and the military contractors that employ them. And then on the heels of that truth, he tells a ridiculous lie. The lie that we're giving money to Ukraine because of Biden? We're supporting Ukraine because Putin invaded them. You think that Biden made them invade? The ass-hattery of that idea. One has nothing to do with the other. And a lot of the GOP always acts like it's like charity. Like, we're not doing this for Ukraine. And they all get away with lying about this because so many Americans are uninformed on foreign policy. The United States does not give military support for charity. It is always about U.S. interests. And of course, he pretends to be anti-corruption, but like, he's corrupt as fuck and would do the exact same thing if he were in office. Further, he says, we want to make sure that we don't entangle ourselves into any foreign wars. How are you going to do that? You didn't say how you were going to do that. Because you would. If he really cared about defanging the military-industrial complex, then he would say that we need to stop sending so much fucking money to Israel. What does he mean they don't need our help? They just want to be able to do it by themselves. What are you talking about? Israel would have nothing if it weren't for the United States. Nothing. So he has no other plan than to continue the war machine. He just talks the talk of populism and then is like, yeah, let's just keep giving money to Israel. And they say so much during this debate, you gotta blow the terrorists out of the war. How? But you'll notice, and it comes up multiple times throughout this, there's not one call for Bibi to step down. Why is that? Bro, you had calls for Ronna McDaniel to step down because she failed to win Republican elections, but the dude that just presided over the biggest failure of national security ever to happen in Israel gets to keep his job? They have no plan for that, of course, except for they want war with Iran.
And final question from Matthew Brooks to the Republican Jewish Coalition. Please watch.
Jewish students across the country are threatened and under attack. What do you say to Jewish students on college campuses who feel unsafe given the dramatic rise in anti-Semitism? And what do you say to university presidents and college presidents who have not met the moral clarity moment to forcefully condemn Hamas terrorism?
Mr. Ramaswamy, would you like to take that one?
Absolutely. I think the scourge of anti-Semitism across this country, including in places like my alma maters and places like Brooklyn Bridge in New York, it's sad to see, but here's what history teaches us. Anti-Semitism is a symptom of a deeper cancer in a country and a society that is lost, and we are lost. Several years ago, when I wrote my first book, Woke Inc., I was talking about they were chanting death to America, death to white people, death to Christians. Nobody was waking up back then. Now it's even bad. Now they're saying death to Israel and worse. So it is wrong, but we have to get to the root cause here. Now, I think it's really important that we do this through leadership, not censorship. Leadership means fill that void with purpose and meaning. Dilute this wokeism and anti-Semitism to irrelevance. These kids, they have no idea what the heck they're even talking about when they're siding with Hamas over Israel. They're fools. But I also want to caution here, if we go the direction of Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, with whom I respectfully disagree on this issue, pro-censorship, telling student groups to disband, mark my words, soon they will say if you question a vaccine and its side effects, you're a bioterrorist. Soon they will say that if you show up at a school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. Soon if they say that J6 prisoners should be released, you're an insurrectionist terrorist. So that's where this road ends. We don't quash this with censorship because that creates a worse underbelly. We quell it through leadership by calling it out. These university administrators have lost their way, and we need leadership at the top in the United States of America that restores our founding values and that has no place for this kind of anti-Semitic hate. That's where I stand while respecting our Constitution.
Your time is out. Senator.
Whoo!